Hollywood studios' major streamers met with SAG-AFTRA leadership to make its last, best, and final offer over the weekend. Unions still reviewing while more movies are getting delayed as an impact of this ongoing strike continues. Joining us right now, Rich Greenfield, LightShed Partners. Rich, at this point, when do you think a deal gets done? And just, I mean, even if a deal gets done, what are we talking about in terms of the calendar, both on production, distribution? What does it do to earnings as you look out over the next 12 to 24 months?
Well, you know, Andrew, this past weekend was supposed to be Dune 2 weekend. That's a Warner Brothers film from WBD, Warner Brothers Discovery. It got pushed out till March. That happened a while ago. But, you know, you had one of the slowest weekends of the year at the box office. You know, look, the problem with the strikes, I mean, I'm sort of tired of the best and final. I feel like we've heard things like that before. I mean, look, I'm hopeful, but you know, 10 days ago, the studios were saying it's going to happen this weekend or it has to happen within the next few days. And here we are 10 days later, 11 days later, and we're still hoping, you know, that an end is in sight. The reality is, given where we are in the calendar, no major, you know, Hollywood production is really getting off the ground again until the beginning of the 2024. The problem that presents is there's a lot of movies that are just not finished for the second half of 2024. And so, you know, box office is probably going to end 23 down somewhere north of 20%. I would guess between 20 and 25%. The problem with 2024 is with the lack of movies, you could be down another 20 to 25% or more in 24 off of 23. I mean, these are numbers that are so catastrophically bad for the movie theater industry. Obviously, it impacts all of the big media companies, your parent company included. If you're not releasing films, while it's good that you can't lose money on a film, you know, net Hollywood makes money in the motion picture business, not a huge margin, but there's just more and more likelihood that films in the second half get delayed. And that's not good for the entire industry.
So, Rich, one of the things that you've talked about, at least we're talking about, I would say several months ago, I don't know if you're still talking about it, is just what it's also going to do to streaming and streaming subscriptions, which is to say, at some point, do you look at what's in the library, if you will? You get on the service, you click around, you go, oh, there's nothing left for me. I'm going to, you know what, I'll take a pause. I'll take a pause on this one. Maybe I'll come back to this service later. Do you see that happening yet? Do you see that happening in 6 months from now? And if so, who do you think is the most susceptible to that?
Well, I mean, the reality is you're seeing less and less content across the industry on these streaming services. It's had an impact. It's having an impact on all of these streaming services. I think it'd be hard not to miss. No, I mean, it's having an impact. And I think when you look forward
this weekend. It was like the worst thing I've ever seen.
When you look forward over the course of the next several months, I think you're going to see more and more of a drain on these companies. It's going to impact. And it's also why you're seeing them take alternative plans on catalog. You're seeing more and more catalog being licensed from the big media, legacy media companies over to Netflix and Amazon. They're looking for new ways of making money because their core streaming businesses are just not as robust as they had hoped. The product's just thin. You know, Netflix benefits from having a lot of overseas content, Andrew, but even Netflix is going to feel the impact if production doesn't restart soon.
But are you imagining that we're going to start to get quarterly results and we're going to start hearing about not just growth slowing down, but we're going to talk about a reverse?
You know, it's hard. Look, a lot of it depends on what you do. I mean, you're seeing a lot of deep discounting from these streaming services. Sign up for a full year, at a pretty meaningful discount. You've seen them launch advertising tiers at far lower prices in order to attract subscribers. So it isn't as simple to say, even Disney starting to explore it, starting up in Canada, but they're starting to explore password sharing the way Netflix does. So there's a lot of moving pieces. I'm not, I think, look, growth has largely stopped for streaming. I mean, that's
so if
obvious.
That's the case, which of these stocks, and we've now cycled through on the screen, we'll see them: Netflix, Walt Disney, Paramount Global, Warner Brothers, Comcast, parent company of this network, though a little bit of a different story given the cable piece of its business, the actual wires, that is. Rich, which ones do you like based on the price? We're at Netflix at $433. Disney is now at $85. Paramount's at $13. Got Warner Brothers sitting at just about $12, Comcast up at about $43 now.
Look, all of this is making Netflix stronger. You know, if you think, Andrew, we used to get on with you. Think about 3-4 years ago. Nobody wanted to license anything to Netflix, like literally nobody. Everybody was keeping everything they made for themselves. They've realized that keeping it for themselves, the streaming services, whether we're talking Disney Plus, whether we're talking Peacock or Paramount Plus, there's not enough reach of these platforms. And so you're seeing all of them turn back to Netflix, turn back to Amazon. They want to license more content because they don't have enough engagement on their own platforms. That's good from a, you know, it's good for the content that they own. It's not great for the streaming platforms, but it's really good for the content they own. That's going to make Netflix a really powerful company as you move through 2024. They don't have a choice. They have to.
Rich.